Okay, it's April 24th, and we're trading the New York trading session now, Wednesday. We're going to review some of the trades that we've taken and then also some of the trades that I'm anticipating trading over the next couple of trading sessions. So right now I'm flat everything at this point. We talked about this trade yesterday in the chat room. You may have remembered this with the update and the video that I posted. 1.3466 was the target just before economic data for Canada. This is a dollar Canadian pair. I'm sorry if I didn't mention that before. This is a dollar Canadian 1 hour chart. So before economic data was released for this pair for Canada, I had mentioned that in the chat room we were talking about this just this morning. I said that it looked likely that it would spike up maybe with the news or maybe a spike and then a pull back down. Sometimes they'll sort of reverse pretty quick. But nevertheless, it was an opportunity for it to just kind of run right into that final target. And I don't recommend opening up additional positions when price is already so far away from the initial entry. But nevertheless, that one is done. So the way I day trade, for those of you who are sort of wondering how I execute my trades, what I'm doing, how I perform with the trade copier, once it's reached its final target based on the specific technique that I'm using, that's it. I'm done. I'm flat. I then move on and start looking for the next trade opportunity. They don't just keep running indefinitely. You know that. I know that. Sometimes I would sit there and I'd be up maybe 30, 40 pips and I'd think, wow, this is great. I want 80 pips. You hold on too long and then you give it all back. There's a specific target for each one of these techniques. So this is the continuation breakout trade. That's also the trade that we had here on the euro dollar. Now, it was a little bit choppy from the entry. It moved around quite a bit. A few times it even looked like it was going to reverse and maybe not really go too much further. But sometimes that's just how they go. That's how they work. The price structure is still intact. Lower lows, lower highs. Just a little while ago, it hit that final target there at 1155. Again, I'm done with these trades. I don't expect any more. I don't continue to hold on. I don't jump back in again unless it's another opportunity. Now, moments ago in the chat room, I was talking about the larger time frames for the euro dollar. Daily time frame for the euro dollar looks like it's possible that if everything holds at these levels, it could print a daily continuation breakout trade to the downside, which could indicate more to the downside. Again, there's specific entries even with the continuation breakout trade on the larger time frames. I'll talk about that after the 5 o'clock rollover with the next update. I'll send that out to everybody on the email list. But how I would trade that, because even though we get a signal, it could still be a head fake. We got to make sure that it's not a head fake, and I'll explain exactly how I go through that process of identifying whether or not it's going to be a head fake or if it's going to be a situation where we could expect price to continue to trend in the direction that we're trading it in with the breakout. Dollar yen, I'm not trading the dollar yen yet. It's still inside of this range of consolidation. You can see it's a relatively tight range of consolidation. It really didn't come down to support, which was this week's low, to give me what I'm comfortable with in trading a bounce off of support, like a Tech 1 trade or a T2 pattern. These are techniques that I developed. The T2 pattern in a situation like this would be much more reliable and would indicate to me that it's probably going to cover a greater distance. But that's one of the questions is, even though I can see some of the candle patterns like this one here, this bullish engulfing candle, I also have to calculate, is it likely to even go to a take profit target that I would use? Is there enough momentum? Is it worth getting into the trade, or is it likely to just sort of move up maybe 10 points, 11 points, and then stall and go flat and sideways? That would be more of a scalping situation, because if I don't take profits right when it peaks at its high inside of consolidation, which is hard to do if it doesn't reach one of my take profit levels, then I have to take profits when it pulls back and I'm giving back profits. So in other words, with scalping, I would rather not do that until it really clears this consolidation range or bounces significantly off of resistance or support with that T2 pattern or that Tech 1 trade. Those are much more reliable and much more predictable, and usually with the volume levels that I can see on the Japanese yen futures, it would be a worthwhile trade at that time, putting my money and capital into this particular currency pair and waiting for it to hit its target. So right now at this moment, I am flat everything. After the 5 o'clock rollover, though, at this point, now that the euro dollar has hit its take profit level, I would consider the possibility of an HL30 after I take a look at how the daily candle closes. That would be something that I would consider. I would not jump into a bounce right now. Some people do. I don't. I need a lot more, confirmation in a situation like this. So I'll go to my reversals chart. This is the reversals template that I use, and I'll show you a couple of reasons why I'm not ready to go long euro dollar just yet. So these indicators that I'm using to identify and confirm that price has bottomed out, obviously a lot of the indicators are going to lag the behavior and the action, the price action, but I still need confirmation. Confirmation with these indicators is going to give me a much more reliable signal. It's possible that it could move up, then pull back down again, and then print the HL30, and I can trade that bounce. That would be much more, I guess I should say, less risky. It's going to make me a lot more comfortable when I have more confirmation. Right now, it's more like picking tops and bottoms at this point, and I don't want to do that. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't have confirmation here, even if I was to switch from a 1-hour chart to a 30-minute chart, which might give me an early warning indication of whether or not. So I just switched to a 30-minute chart. Bandwidth hasn't turned down yet, indicating that this part of this move to the downside is over with. Now, if I went to a 15 or 5-minute, it might, but those aren't as reliable. Those time frames aren't as reliable to me as the 30-minute and the 1-hour. It's just the way that I do it. I'm not saying that they're not reliable. I'm not saying that you can't trade off of a 5-minute or a 15. I'm just saying that I prefer not to. I don't like to look at time frames that small. I am much more comfortable, in the way I execute these trades is off of a 30-minute and 1-hour, and I've been doing it since 2001. It's much more predictable for me because of the specific take profit targets as well. That's the other reason why I trade off of these time frames. So I can see the divergence. Things are starting to line up. I would just like to see more confirmation here. So it might bounce around. Even if it prints an engulfing candle, maybe the next two candles, price is going to continue to go back down and not necessarily retest the low of today, but bounce around that range, which means that it may take a little while for me to get 100% confirmation on this reversal. At that point, again, it may take me into after the rollover period. If these line up for a possible bounce and I get an HL30 and the daily time frame looks like it would support me trading a bounce back up to the 20 pip target, that's my entry. I know I'm sort of going deep into the explanation without actually seeing it, having it unfold in front of us, but when it actually develops, I will record that and I will send that message out so you can see exactly how I'm combining all of these different points of confirmation to confirm a trade and get into the trade comfortably. So again, at this point, I'm flat. Everything's working out just fine today. This was a pretty good trading day. It was just a matter of waiting for a lot of the trades from yesterday to hit their final targets is really what I was doing. So basically today was more of managing the positions. I certainly don't like and don't recommend chasing and getting into trades long after the entry has already developed. I got that question earlier today. Somebody got into the trade a little bit later in the chat room, and we were looking at the target of 1.1155 on the euro dollar, and I said, even though it's sitting here at 68 or 69 or even 70, we know where it's likely to go if it's going to hit that final target, but I don't recommend chasing trades like that. If you miss the entry, the way I look at it is just wait for the next trade opportunity, even if it means you have to wait another day. Some people don't like doing that. That's just the way that I do it. To me, it's much safer and less risky behaving that way and trading that way. And it's a lot more predictable and reliable. So I can see the possible setups here, and I'm going to be waiting for some HL30s after the rollover, and I'll make an update on those and another update video on those trades as they set up.